we are talking cold outreach. Email, text, Twitter, phone, TikTok, whatever your method is. Recently, I've been working on a side project and talking to a bunch of people on the job hunt, and realized that there are a lot of people out there who don't do this very well. Many times the reason is either a lack of awareness, the fear of rejection, or feeling like you don't actually deserve the opportunity. And I'm here to tell you that that's bullshit. You do deserve the opportunity, but you also do need to go after it. I'm really passionate about helping people get the jobs that they really want. So today, I'm going to teach you how to reach out to get results. But before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so that you don't miss out on the next video. It's gonna be very exciting. I've heard many horror stories of people sending hundreds of job applications out each week and then hearing back from maybe one or two. These are honestly very terrible conversion rates, especially for the amount of time and effort you put into them. Instead of focusing on the quantity, I suggest that you focus on the quality instead. Because there is no way that you actually want to work at those hundreds of companies. In my case, I very rarely apply for a job through a company's career page. In fact, I've never had a job that I got or accepted by applying through a company's career page. It's always been through some other unusual means. So instead of applying to hundreds of non-targeted companies, I spend my time doing diligent research into companies I'd actually want to work for and then reach out directly. And that's been proven to be much more effective. So now let's go over the 3-step process I use to do that. Assuming you've got a list of companies you want to work for, now's the time to do some stalking. So I'm personally really into edtech, and I recently heard about this amazing company called Synthesis that is kind of revolutionizing education for kids, teaching them things that they don't learn in the classroom, like collaboration, communication, conflict management, through cohort-based games. I absolutely needed to learn more, so I did some digging and found out they were looking for part-time facilitators. So I thought I'd rather show you than tell you how to do cold outreach with this real-world example. First, get a good perspective on the company and the role. That means reading the job description, company's values, mission statement, and all of their news article or other media content that they've put out in the past 2 or 3 months. Keep track of key insights and store the research in your favorite note-taking tool. Next, you have to identify your potential targets. Your goal here is to reach out to a real person. They could be a hiring manager, they could be your peer, or a recruiter. So go on LinkedIn, find 2 to 5 people that are interesting to you and vaguely related to the role that you'll be applying for. Now you do a second part of your stalking for everyone that you identified. Google them, go on Twitter, go on Instagram, go on YouTube, TikTok, whatever. Understand what they like, what they don't like, how they communicate, and what they care about. So, a side note, this is not a technique for manipulating people. This is a technique for getting heard where otherwise you might have gotten lost. Your interest in a company or a person should always be genuine. If it's not, it's going to show, and this technique won't work. You have 2 possibilities to decide on who your final mark is. Either it's someone you have a lot in common with, so you went to the same college, have the same connections, like similar things, or it's someone that is very public, like they have a website with their contact info, they tweet a lot, they have their DMs open, and it's easy to find their email. Someone who is very public is way more likely to respond. Make sure to take notes on the things you discover. I generally think it's better to focus on your peers rather than the hiring manager or recruiter because of 2 things. A, they're more likely to give you proper feedback because they don't have a hiring agenda. And B, they can probably benefit from you more than a recruiter or a hiring manager can. Companies often don't give referral bonuses to hiring managers or recruiters because that's basically part of their job. So it becomes much easier to convince your peers to become your advocates. Now, armed with all this research, it's time to finally write that message. Here's how to structure your outreach. Step number 1, Show interest in the person that you're reaching out to. Maybe you read their article on Medium or saw an interesting tweet or heard them on a podcast that they were a guest on. Find that specific nugget that shows that you know and respect them. Deep down, we're all a bit self-centered and ego-driven, so little flattery can go a long way. Focus on something recent, something specific to them, and not too personal. Like, don't pick to talk about a cat food brand that they posted on Instagram 2 years ago. That's creepy. As an example, I recently sent out a direct message on Twitter to the founder of Synthesis, which is this interesting edtech startup based on a School of Midfin program that started on the SpaceX campus. I heard about them on a podcast, and here's what I said. I recently heard about you and Synthesis on the Virtually podcast about the future of education technology and was really inspired and intrigued about what you and Anna Fabrega said. After taking a look at the demo videos and student testimonials on your site, I was sold entirely. Next, you want to introduce yourself and make a connection with your qualifications. We all want to connect with others, so if you can make me see a connection between us, I'm much more likely to respond. Maybe you went to the same school, or worked at the same company, or liked the same Medium article, or maybe you just share the same interests and values. Here's what I said. My name's Leia, and I'm on a mission to join an innovative educational technology company whose goals align with my own, to democratize access to quality education regardless of race, gender, or social status, and amplify people's intrinsic drive to learn. Lastly, end your message with a clear and simple ask. Make it easy for them to understand what you want and what the next steps are. But if you do want a job at this company, I would never ask for a referral immediately. Instead, ask for a coffee or a chat or a meeting. Show your interest in the person rather than the position. Before you ask for that referral, you want to make sure you've built rapport with this person so that if they do refer you later on, they can be your advocate. A few years ago, a recent bootcamp grad reached out to me to talk about how it's like to work at Winter Runway. I was a fairly new employee, so I kind of felt honored that she chose me to reach out to, and I replied. I was really impressed with her grit and perseverance, even though her skills weren't quite up to par. But I went out on a limb and advocated for her to my boss because we did have some positions open. Long story short, we ended up hiring her, she did an amazing job, and I got a pretty hefty referral bonus. So here's what my clear and simple ask was in my Twitter message. I would love to meet to learn more about your plans for the future, to see if there's a fit between your needs and my skills. Clear and to the point. So now that we have the structure down, let's talk a little bit about length. Generally, I'd keep the outreach short and sweet, getting your point across in 3 to 5 sentences. But there are some exceptions, so don't obsess about the length too much. Just kind of veer on the side of brevity. And one last tip, make it punchy. Don't spill all the beans. Say just enough to intrigue them so that they want to reach out and learn more. Last step, optional, if you don't get a reply back in 3 or so days, is to follow up and not be afraid of it. People are busy. You're busy, I'm busy, we're all busy. So these cold outreach messages, emails are very likely to fall through the cracks. It doesn't mean it didn't work. It might just mean that the target didn't actually see it seriously. Follow up, at least twice. For the cold outreach DM that I've been showing you throughout this video, I had to follow up 3 times before I finally got a reply. But when I did, I ended up having a fantastic conversation with the founder, and now I'm in the last steps of an interview process. It works. So, you've made it to the end of the video, and I have a little bit of a surprise for you. I really want to help people get jobs that they actually want. So I want to help you. For the first 3 people that subscribe to my channel and comment down below that they need help, I will do whatever is in my power to help you with your cold outreach until we get at least 1 positive reply. I promise. All right, that is it, folks. Hope you found this video useful. If you did, I'd love it if you could give me a thumbs up. It really does help support my channel. If you have any tips on how to do cold outreach and things that have worked out for you, please share with the rest of us and comment down below so we can all learn from each other and be better. Or if you've taken my tips to heart, and reached out to someone. Let me know how it went. I can't wait to hear your stories.